Hey guys, it's Tiffany. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, if you did watch my most recent video when I was showing the wedding highlights of my actual wedding day, I did mention in the description box that I would be doing a follow-up video just kind of giving you guys more of an in-depth look at my actual wedding and the entire process of planning and how that looked for me. So if you're interested, stay tuned. I also did a little question and answer segment. So if you did ask me a question, then your answer will be in this video. This video is not going to be only beneficial to those who are engaged or even thinking to get married or even in a relationship. It can benefit everyone. Maybe you even know a friend who's getting married soon. So just stay tuned, keep on watching, and I hope you enjoy. Okay, so before I jump into the questions, of course I have to let you guys in on just a little backstory on my wedding itself. So for those of you who do not know, my wedding was held in Jamaica. That is where I was born and raised, so obviously that's where it would have been. It was basically a destination wedding, but not really, because that's where I'm from and that's where Brandon's family is from as well. But it was still a destination wedding technically, because a lot of our guests, actually probably majority of our guests, flew there from overseas. So yeah, basically we wanted to give our wedding a more unique touch to it, and I say that to say that everything that we did was very strategic. Everything that we did was very thought out and planned and organized to the T. We wanted it to be more of an experience than an actual just wedding, because if you've ever been to a wedding, it kind of bothers me that you spend all these months or even years planning a wedding, and then the day comes and then just like that, after a few hours, it's done. So I didn't really want that. I wanted it to be an experience for all of our guests and family and friends. So we made it an entire weekend getaway. This happened in terms of we planned a whole weekend, because if you guys don't know, my wedding was held the day after my birthday, and the day after my wedding was actually my brother's birthday. So it was just a big weekend of just celebration. So we planned a hotel for everyone to stay at. Majority of our guests actually did end up staying there, so it was really fun. My wedding was in Montego Bay, Jamaica, so it was extremely fun. We had an itinerary with a bunch of different activities that we did. The main ones were that I had a birthday dinner, was it, or maybe it was lunch, I can't really remember right now, but that happened on the Friday, and then the Saturday was the wedding, and then the Sunday we had a farewell brunch for Brandon and I before we went off to our honeymoon, to just say goodbye and our last thank yous to everyone that spent the weekend with us. So it was just a lot going on. We had a girls' day for all of my girls in my bridal party. You know, we just did all these sorts of stuff. We had my bachelor party and Brandon's bachelorette party, sorry, and then his bachelor party. All of that happened in that one weekend. So it was just a lot going on, but it was so fun. It was so amazing. I wouldn't trade it for the world. We left itineraries. I had itineraries printed up that we left in everyone's room. Some we left in people's room, and some we actually gave to the front desk staff to give it to all our guests. So that was pretty cool too. So basically from they stepped into that hotel, everything was just degrees in paradise, degrees in paradise. We branded everything, you know, everything was organized to a T, as I said, and it was just a really fun experience. And we had sent out package deals to the guests before. That was located mostly on our wedding website. We had a wedding website, so we listed everything on our wedding website, everything from activities that they could do in the area, everything from down to our registry, everything to pictures, everything was on our website. It was just a really fun thing to even put that website together. Also, one of the first things I was sure to do was pick out a theme for our wedding. So I do suggest planning your wedding around the theme, the location, and your colors. Definitely once you pick your location too, everything will kind of fall into place, based on if it's an outdoor wedding, if it's an indoor wedding. Do you want it to have more of a country feel? Do you want it to have more of a whimsical feel? Do you want it to be very classy and just modern and all of that stuff? So definitely we did go ahead and pick out our travel theme. I do also recommend that your theme should kind of be linked to who you are as a couple, so it's very representative of you. And that's what Brandon and I did. We both love traveling. Also, ever since Brandon and I started dating, he used to come with me every single summer to Jamaica to my family. So that was kind of something that was our little tradition that we did every single year. And so we both knew that we wanted to travel more, even more when we got married and all of that. So we love the idea of traveling. So even our engagement photos were a travel theme. We were on a train, we had like suitcases, and it was very vintage. And so everything we did from that moment on had to do with travel, down to our cake boxes were little suitcases. It was so cute. So you know, I wanted it to everything to be very cohesive and blend together. And so with that, we actually did have, instead of ushers, we had flight attendants. So that was very good as well. I know that people did come back to me saying that they thought that was so cute and different, and that's what we wanted. So I had 2 flight attendants, and I wrote something up for them to do in the beginning before everything started, and they did the whole hand gestures and all of that stuff. They told people where to find their programs under the seat. Like, it was just very cute. And of course they did their regular usherly duties, which was like directing people. And so instead of having table numbers, the tables were actually, each table had a different airline. And so it was just very, you know, everything was very tailored towards traveling. And we had like everyone's airline number and all of that to where they could find their seat. And so that was something that was very unique. And if you wanted to do a travel theme wedding, or if you thought about it, you can be sure to give me some questions on a one-on-one basis, and I'll be sure to give you some more tips and tricks that we did to incorporate that theme. Also, I wanted to quickly mention something that Brennan and I did for each other on our wedding day. So if you are interested in getting your partner a gift for your wedding day, or if you've ever heard about this little gesture that you can do, this is just the way Brennan and I did it. So on our wedding day, I actually bought Brennan a PS4, and I wrote a little cute note in it saying that from now on, this is the only games you're going to be playing. And so it was just a little cute thing for me to do. He had always wanted a PS4, so I made sure to make note of that throughout the months of our engagement, and I saved up and I got that for him. I couldn't carry the entire station with me while I was traveling, so of course I just brought the remote, and that is what I left the note with. And I gave one of his groomsmen the morning of our wedding while we were getting ready, and that's when he received the gift bag with the remote control and the little note. So I'll insert a clip of him opening it up. He really liked it, he really enjoyed it, and he was very grateful. And then for me, what he did is something that blew my mind completely. So you guys know that I'm so passionate about blogging and making videos and stuff like that. So Brandon actually reached out to my favorite YouTubers and bloggers, and they made little video clips for me, and he put them together and he showed the video at the reception. I was literally cowballing, like no jokes, not no little tears. I cried even more than when he was reading me his vows. It was just such a sweet and incredible gesture that he took the time out to do that for me. He found their emails, he did all his research, and he just asked them to do that for him, for me. And so they all gave their well wishes and their love and their support. They all wished me the best in my marriage, and then they actually took the time to read my blog and go on my blog and then offer me tips and advice for that as well. So it meant so much for me.
Hey Brandon and Tiffany, it's Jamie and Nikki here. We just wanted to congratulate you guys on getting married. I'm sure it was a beautiful day, and I'm sure you looked absolutely stunning.
We also want to wish you all the best with your incredible blog. Keep up that amazing work. We just hope all of your dreams come true, and we want to wish you both a lifetime of happiness.
Enjoy your day. Bye.
Bye.
Hey Tiffany, it's Imari, also known as Soul Style Beauty. I want to thank your husband for being so kind to reach out to me to let me know he wanted me to be a part of you guys' wedding video. Congratulations on your big day. That is a beautiful thing. Love is a beautiful thing, and I hope that God continues to bless you guys. I hope that you guys keep him as a foundation in your marriage, because he's the one that really holds everything together. So I just pray that you guys continue to seek him in your marriage and to glorify him.
A lot of people were kind of confused confused. They didn't really know what was going on, because if you're not into the whole YouTube world or social media, you would probably be wondering who those people were. But for the people that did know, it was just such an incredible moment, and it was something that I will never forget. So definitely, if you are thinking about doing something like that, I would keep in mind just making it as sentimental as possible and something that your partner will remember forever. So as I said, you know, we just wanted it to be an experience, and so there are two things I wanted to touch on mainly that didn't really show in the video. The first one being that actually during our cocktail hour, we did have life-size games. This was something that I really wanted, because sometimes during cocktail hours, you know, it can get very stretched out and you're just kind of waiting there, like waiting for the reception to start. So I wanted to give our guests something that they could do. We actually had a coconut station where they could get real coconut and coconut jelly right there. Someone was there chopping them up, so that was really cool. That was happening during the cocktail hour. We also had a big live step and repeat, if you guys know what that is, like the big backdrop with our logo and stuff that people could take pictures on, and there was a red carpet. And then what I was mentioning in terms of the life-size games, we also had games that they could play. So we had, I believe we had like a checkerboard, but these were actually life-size games. We also had a station with like dominoes, and we also had like the cornhole toss. So that was really cool, and of course we branded it with our logo and all of that great stuff and our hashtag. So it was just a really fun thing for all of our guests to do. I don't really know how many people actually used it, but it was still good to have, just in case you want any ideas for your cocktail hours. I would highly suggest that. It was something that was very memorable for our guests. The second thing I wanted to talk about was the feet washing ceremony, because I did get a lot of questions about this in terms of why we did it. So the photo actually did went semi-viral a few months ago. A lot of people were reposting it. It was the picture of me washing Brandon's feet. The picture of Brandon washing my feet was not there, so I think a lot of people got kind of confused, because I think people were under the impression that I was the only one that did it. But no, it was the both of us that participated in it, and we did it in a way to replace the, you know how people usually do like the sand ceremony or something similar to that. Most people do the sand ceremony or like jumping the broom, but yeah, things like that. So we did it in replacement of that, because as I said, we wanted our wedding to be very unique, and so everything that we did was very unique to us, and we wanted it to be something that was very spiritual but very meaningful at the same time. And so we thought about doing the feet washing ceremony. So for all the people who wanted to know the reason behind the feet washing, basically Brandon and I just wanted to show our guests, in the sight of them or family or friends, and of course in the sight of God, that we are going to be connected to each other, and that we are going to be respectful to each other, and that we value each other equally. We see each other equally as one, and nobody is greater than the other. And so we wanted to show everyone that we would be working as a team, and that was something that was such an incredible moment for the both of us. As our guests sat there and witnessed us doing that, we had actually something written up as well that was being read while we were washing each other's feet, so that people would understand really the background of it and the story behind it and the meaning behind it. So yeah, it wasn't communion. I've had questions about that too, but yeah, it was just our way of showing each other that we respect each other, and that we'll be there for each other always, and that we'll always see each other as equal. And so I really do not regret doing that at all. As I said, it was very spiritual. It was very humbling, to say the least. Okay, so leading into the questions. So the number one question I get asked about my wedding has to be, without a doubt, where did I get my bridesmaids dresses from? I get this question every single week. I kid you not. I cannot tell you how many times I've had to respond to emails, to DMs, to snaps. I get that question constantly, and so I'm letting the secret out today. Well, it's not really a secret, but I got my bridesmaids dresses from Rent the Runway. So yes, they were actually rented. We chose to go that route just because I was in Florida and majority of my girls were in Jamaica. It was just very hard to figure out a way to, you know, get everyone's sizing and make sure everyone was on the the same wavelength, and so I just decided the easier route would have been to rent the runway. I highly recommend the site. I will definitely leave the link down below to the dress and to the website itself. The website is very user friendly. You have the option of renting the dress for either, I believe it's 4 days or 7 days. We did 7 days, of course, because I had to take the dresses down to Jamaica and then bring them back up to the States to mail them off, because they don't ship internationally. At least they didn't last year. I don't know if they have changed that rule, but yeah, so we got them for 7 days. And you also have the option of getting 2 sizes for the price of 1. So I really love that about the site, because a lot of them were kind of worried and skeptical, like, would this dress fit? But I actually did order 1 dress for one of my bridesmaids that were here with me in Miami. So I ordered one for her a few months before, just so that she could try it on and see if the sizing was true to size, and it definitely was. So I highly recommend the site, as I said before, and I will be leaving their link down below. But that's pretty much it about the dress. I've gotten that question so many times, so I hope that, you know, if you are on the hunt for a bridesmaid dress, that is highly recommended, because they have lots of options for both day weddings, for both evening weddings. And it's not only wedding attire, you can actually go on there and rent normal dresses too, like for a cocktail event or for a holiday party. They have lots of options, and the price point is amazing. So yeah. So moving on, I got a question that asked me, how did I let people down when it came on to their suggestions? Like, technically, if I didn't like their suggestions, how would I let them down? To be honest, I didn't have a hard time with this, just because I was up here, as I said, in Miami. My wedding was in Jamaica. My parents are still in Jamaica. My entire family is still there. And so my mom really did spearhead my whole wedding in terms of the planning aspect of it. She really was a life savior. Like, she saved me when it come down to my wedding. She did practically everything in terms of the vendor aspect of it. So in terms of reaching out to the vendors, because all of that, of course, was in Jamaica, so she did all the meetings, and, you know, she let me know every step of the way what was happening. So she pretty much did all of that. It wasn't hard for me, because I didn't get a lot of outside and external suggestions, just because I didn't want that. I made it very clear from the beginning, and I kept my planning circle extremely small. So up here it was basically just Brandon and I and his parents, my in-laws, and then it was my mom and my family back home. I didn't really have a lot of help in terms of from outside people or planners or friends or anything. It was very, you know, it was very much an in-house planning ordeal, and I wouldn't have had it any other way. I believe that when it comes down to weddings, you have to be very careful, because people will always have their suggestions. People will always have something to say, and their suggestions may not always be helpful, but you never know, sometimes they are. So I would suggest, if you're in that predicament, just hear people out, not too much. Don't let people overstep their boundaries, but really hear them out, because it may be something that could be useful for you. Or if you see someone that you liked what they did at their wedding, which is what happens to me. I get a lot of questions. If someone saw a particular thing in my wedding that they want to ask about, I will gladly answer them. So I think that's the best route to go. I don't think you should listen to too many people from the outside. So piggybacking off of that question, I also got a question about how did I deal with my hubby's family getting too involved in my wedding planning process. So it's kind of the same. I didn't really have that problem. They did not get too involved. They didn't get overly involved. With my mother-in-law, we talk constantly. So every time I would like see something, because I was mostly in charge of things in terms of ordering. So if I had to order like my wedding favors or the cake topper, stuff like that, so I would run it by her, like, hey, what do you think about this, or a design for something, or even with the bridesmaids dresses, just so I could have someone's opinion outside of Brandon's. So that's where they really came in. really just to be a listening ear, and they were always there. And when we were doing the invitations and like sealing them up and putting the stamps and all of that stuff, they were a big help with that as well, and like mailing them off, she did that for me. So you know, I didn't really have that problem at all. I didn't have a negative planning process at all. I know that people have some horror stories, but I just didn't personally experience that. I had pretty much smooth sailing throughout the entire process. We were engaged for about 8 months, so we we started planning from right then and there. We actually started planning before we got engaged because we were already talking about it. Fun fact, he actually proposed to me at our wedding venue, so people kind of look at me strange when I tell them that, but yeah, that just goes to show we were already planning it. It just wasn't set in stone in terms of the ring. But yeah, so I didn't really have that problem at all. And if you do, I would advise really doing a sit down, which is what my family did. My parents flew up after my engagement, and we had a whole big family meeting. My family is big on family meetings, and we really sat down and kind of discussed everyone's role in the process. So we never really had any confusion throughout the entire thing because each person knew, you know, what they were in charge of and stuff like that. So I would advise doing it that way and kind of getting everyone's input from that point in the beginning, so that later down, you know, nothing takes you by surprise. Okay, so another question I got was it difficult planning a destination wedding? So this is kind of, and also she also asked me what are some tips I would give, so I kind of touched on this briefly, but I would definitely say in terms of my experience, because I had my family there, it made it a lot easier, so it was not difficult at all. And because I'm from Jamaica, I knew a lot of, like, you know, things already. Like, it wasn't like I was going to like Puerto Rico where I've never been before, or somewhere like that where I would really have to dig deep and research. I'm from Jamaica, I was born and raised there, so I knew a lot of places already. I knew the hotels already, so it wasn't hard for me at all. But if you are someone who is new to the place that you want to get married to, I would definitely recommend getting a wedding planner that is local to that particular area. Definitely that would probably be my biggest tip, just because if you try to do it on your own and you have to like go back and forth, like doing site visits and all of that, I don't really know how that would work. But I would definitely recommend getting someone who really has done their research and really is knowing where the So yeah, I would definitely recommend getting someone who is local to the area that you want to get married in, and also someone who has probably done previous weddings in that place before, just because it would make things a lot easier. They would already have vendors on hand, they would already have a cake person, a DJ, all of that stuff, all of those small stuff that we probably don't think about initially. They would really be a big help in that area. So that's what I would recommend. And also I would probably try and find someone who already got married in that location, just so you can kind of bounce ideas off of them and kind of get to know about their experience and their pros and their cons, and you know, any tips they may have for you because they've done it before. So yeah, those would be my major tips. But for me personally, it wasn't difficult. Thank God it wasn't. But I understand that not everybody is in the same situation as me, so that would be my advice for them. So I'm winding down. I get this question quite often as well, and it's, how did I know that Brandon was the one? You hear that question quite a lot, you know, but technically that's a very hard question for me to answer, just because it was never one thing. It was never one moment in time where I kind of just got up and I was like, an awakening, like, yes, he's the one. Like, it wasn't like that. It was more so a mixture and a combination of numerous events and numerous experiences that I had with Brandon, that I just knew that there's nobody else I could spend the rest of my life with. Also, I did a lot of prayer closer to the time when we were getting more serious, and it just really, God really just, you know, revealed to me that this was the person I was supposed to be with. And it wasn't in a way like no mushy gushy, like, oh my God, can't spend my days without him. Like, it wasn't even like that. It was more that Brandon brought out so much of me that I didn't even know was there. It's kind of hard for me to explain, but essentially Brandon was able to allow me to see myself in a completely different light, and it's something that nobody has ever allowed me to experience before. And I knew that I wanted to continue to see that side of me come out. And I'm not talking like good sides, I mean like negative things about myself that I didn't even know were there, because the longer I spend with him is the more I'm able to see those things and change those things for the better. And also his support of me was also a big indication that this was the person for me, in terms of him just supporting my goals and my dreams with my blog and just everything in general. He's there with me 100% of the way. So I would definitely say it's hard to pinpoint certain things like, okay, yes, he has this, so that means he's the one. It's never really like that, but it's something that, as people always say, it's cliche, but it's true. You will know when you know, and I just knew. So I would definitely say, if you have someone who is supportive, if you have someone who can draw you closer to God and not pull you further away, that was also something that I saw in Brandon. If you have someone that will build you up and encourage you, and you know, never allow yourself to feel down or low, and just all that stuff, like there's so many things that you can point to. And I will say that sometimes we see a lot of red flags throughout the relationship and we ignore them. Do not ignore the signs. They are real. They're not in your head, and they will haunt you in the long run. And so yeah, that's pretty much it for that. Okay, so I got a few questions from someone. One of them were, how far ahead did I start looking for my dress? So this is kind of actually funny. So I got engaged in April. I believe my mom came here in January, February, March, April, May. Yes, I still have to do that. But she came here in May for my graduation, that's right. And so that is actually when I started looking for a dress, and that's actually when I got my dress. So a month after my engagement, I already got my dress, but that was mostly because my mom was going to be here and she was flying back to Jamaica, and she really wanted to be here with me, and I really wanted her to be a part of the experience. So that's what happened. If that wasn't the case, I probably would have maybe started looking, actually, because we had an 8-month engagement, I probably still would have started looking that early anyway. So but yeah, that was my scenario. So I got my wedding dress a month later, and I actually only went to about 3 wedding dress stores. It didn't take me long at all. I knew when I tried it on, that is so true what people say, but yeah, it didn't take me very long to figure it out. I only tried on about 3 dresses before finding the dress for me. So yeah. The other question from her was, how did I decide on a location? This was not hard actually at all. I think what happened is that we knew we wanted it in Montego Bay, so I would suggest find out exactly what city you want your wedding in first, and then kind of go from there. So we knew we wanted it in Mabay, and because we knew that, I literally just probably did a Google search, I believe, in terms of just all the top wedding destinations in that part of the country. So that's what I did. I probably put like top wedding destinations in Mabay, and Belfield Great House was one of the ones that came up. I looked on their website and their pictures, of course, and I was so breathtaking. Like, I loved it. And I think my mom set up an appointment to meet with them on her own first, and then they went, my dad and my mom went, and they took like a live video for me, and my dad sent me the video, and I was like, yes, this is it. Like, I'm the type of person that I don't really need to do a lot of shopping around. If I find something I like, that's what I like, and that's what I'll stick to. And so then we went down after, obviously, when as I said, Brandon and I went to look at it in April, and that's when he proposed to me. So yeah, it wasn't hard. I think we looked at probably 4 other places. The other places we looked at were mostly hotels in the area, but we didn't really want that hotel vibe. We knew we wanted like an outdoor wedding, and very like a lot of space. It was very spacious, and it had a lot of different areas, and the place just had so much character to it. I get a lot of questions about that as well. So my location was Belfield Great House in Mabay, and I highly recommend them. The staff is great. They have a lot of features, a lot of packages in terms of the meals and all that stuff, and they'll definitely work with you. So I definitely recommend them, and it was a beautiful location. You don't have to do much to it. That was also something that was good for us too. You didn't have to do too much decor because the place spoke for itself. So yeah. Okay, so for the last question I'll be answering, it says, your parents are married. What is something you see in older relationships that you can identify with? And then it's a 2-part question. So the other part says, do you think that relationships have changed standards over the past few decades? So I thought this was a very good question to close off with. First and foremost, yes, my parents are married. They've been married for over 30 years, and they are everything. I look up to them so much, and I respect their relationship so much. And definitely something that I see, I would have to say, is balance. And I mean that to say in terms of how they balance each other out. I can see that with Brandon and I, because Brandon reminds me so much of my dad, and I am just like my mom. finally admitting it, but it is true. So Brandon is very calm, cool, and collect, just like my dad is, and my mom is like a power force. She's like always on the go. Her mind is always going. She always has ideas. She's a businesswoman at heart. And so I do think that we are very similar, and so it's very interesting to see the dynamics of their relationship in terms of how they relate to one another and how they communicate and just how they balance each other out. And that sometimes my mom is like going, and then my dad has to kind of like, you know, chill her out, calm her down, bring her back to reality. And that's definitely what Brandon does for me as well. And then the other part says if I think that standards have changed. Definitely, 100 times yes. I kind of touched on this briefly in another video before, where I was kind of saying that, you know, I really don't think that young people value marriage the way that they used to. And so I can see how the standards have changed, especially in dating. The way how men pursue women these days are just so it's so different from in the past. I would think the respect level has gone down terribly, and men just don't have respect for women these days, and women do play a part in that too. But I've seen the way how men approach women these days. If they are interested, it's just totally different. And I will say that I do think that's a major thing that has changed. And just in general, in terms of the communication lines, and just in terms of the way how women carry themselves in relationships, they give so much of themselves these days, and they're giving basically boyfriend and marriage and husband benefits without even so much as to have a commitment. So I do definitely think that that's something that has gone down over the years. And yeah, that's what I would say for that. That's pretty much all for this video. If you do have any more questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment box below, and I'll be sure to get to them. Thank you guys so much for all the love and all the support, and I hope that you guys have an amazing holiday season. Have a great Christmas, have a happy new year, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.